Welcome to Because We Love You, a podcast dedicated to helping you live a life of wellness. My name is Stacy, and I'm here with my co-host, Jade.
Hello. This week we are talking about loving ourselves. So check out our show notes for more information.
And as always, you can follow us on Instagram or Facebook, listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or watch us on YouTube.
So this week we are talking about not just love in general, but loving ourselves, right?
Yeah, and that's a hard one. I feel like, sometimes it's easier to love other people than it is to love ourselves. We're, worst critics. I think that's what people say, right?
Yeah. So what do you love the most about yourself, Stacey?
Oh, gosh, that's hard. If you ask me what I don't love, I could tell you 100 things. Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I think sometimes this is hard for me, but one thing is that I'm very sensitive to kind of the needs and emotions of other people. And that's hard, right? But I love that. I feel like that's been valuable in a lot of ways.
I love that about you too. And I was just thinking whenever I asked that question to you, I was like, oh, this and this and this. And I wanted to speak so much truth into you right now. So, but isn't that how life goes?
I know, right?
Other people can see all the things they love about you.
Yeah.
But when you're asked in return, it's kind of
so
a little bit hard.
So what's yours? What do you love most about yourself?
I think that I love the maybe the gifting, the personality of bringing people together, just like that, I want you a part of this group, and maybe my including personality.
Yeah.
Even though
You're
that's
so good
kind
at
of
that.
annoying sometimes to some people, but I'm just like, I just want so many people here to experience. And I never want anybody, I always want them to feel like they have a home with me, a home in my world.
That's so good. I love that. And I think if you're listening, this is such an important exercise that everyone should be thinking about. What is it that you love the most about yourself, and focus on that.
And think more about that, because it's so easy. And we're going to go over some things that we think about a lot that are ways that we don't really love ourselves very well in. But spending some time each day was like, that's really good about me. Or,
have you seen that video that went viral several years back? It was Jessica's daily affirmations, and she stands in front of a mirror and she's like, I love my hair, and I love my family, and I love my pajamas. We all need to do that, right?
Yeah.
Start every day. Just stand in front of our mirror, power pose. Here's all the things I love about myself, right?
Right.
Love that.
I do. But the reality is that self-condemnation and just, we put a lot of that when we spend a lot of time each day thinking maybe negative thoughts about who we are. And I think if we want to live this best life that we talk about for months now, we have to realize, and we have to change that. So I think the biggest area for me probably, and for a lot of women, I don't know about you men out there, but I think men struggle with this as well, because I've certainly seen this in the clinic a lot, is our body. Yeah. And just the negative thoughts that we breed, not of self-love or self-worth, but of self-condemnation and guilt with our bodies. Do you experience
Absolutely.
that?
Oh my gosh, for sure. And I don't know, I think, part of it was growing up as a gymnast, and there's a lot of pressure in sports like that, people who are dancers or swimmers or wrestlers, right? There's so much around your body, and then we're just flooded with things from the media about, well, what is, you can buy the perfect body through plastic surgery and things like that. So, absolutely. I've struggled with that my whole life.
I think that when we were reading this book about 2 years ago with Jen Hatmaker, Fierce, Free, and Full of Fire.
Yeah, shout out Jen Hatmaker.
Jen Hatmaker. And Stacey, I love that part that you read to me just recently, because it was talking about the body.
Yeah.
And just the difference perspective on what the body truly is.
Yeah, and after reading this, it actually changed my view of my body. And she refers to one of her friends, Hillary McBride, who talks about how we should refer to our bodies as like she or her, or for men, right, him or he instead of it, because it's such an important part of our identity. And what I loved about that part is Jen Hatmaker talks about just all of the things that our body has done for us, you know, from when we're little and climbing trees and riding our bikes to when we get older, if you're married, like when you walk down the aisle and kissed your spouse in that setting, when, you know, if you've had babies, the fact that your body has, you know, carried those babies. But my favorite part is this, and I'm just going to read a few quotes from it because it's really stuck with me and has really helped me have a healthier view of my body. But she says here, you have your body to thank for every good thing you've ever experienced. She has been so good to you and to others, which I love that perspective, thinking about what our body has done for others. So here are some of the things she writes. Your body delivered you to people who needed you the exact moment you showed up. She kissed away little tears and patched up skinned knees. She holds hands that need holding and hugs necks that need hugging. Your body nurtures minds and souls with her presence. With her lovely eyes, she looks deliberately at people who so deeply need to be seen. Her face has been a comfort. Her hands will be remembered fondly. How they looked, how they loved. Her specific smell will still be remembered in 70 years. Her voice is the sound of home. You may hate her, but no one else does.
And that is that is so good and so peaceful. And I feel like the world and social media and just our own, maybe even the enemy in our mind has degraded a body to a sex symbol or something that is only to be seen and lusted after or seen and appreciated. But when you read those things, how much more is our body? It's like this vessel that we've been given to nurture and to do all the things that we're called to do. Hike the highest mountains, hug the necks of our children and our friends, take food to. And I just think if we every day said, oh my goodness, what has my body done for me today?
And I think just that's what I've learned from that is just to have this attitude of gratitude towards my body and just kind of daily to think like when I'm out on a run, like I think, you know, like, thank you God that my body can allow me to do this. And, you know, I think about parts of me that I don't like growing up, I had these like broad gymnastic shoulders, right? But now I use those shoulders and arms to carry my babies. And, you know, just when I think about, you know, that pudge around my waist, like I created humans and carried them and brought them into this world, and just being so thankful that my body could do those things has really changed the way that I think about it.
And there's nothing more important that like when you have a body incident where it can't do those things, it allows you to appreciate it even more and to respect it. And I think I wish I had known. I'm like, oh man, my body is not going to last forever. So when I'm 15 and doing the crazy things and not taking care of it. If you're young and healthy and you have no pain, take care of your body and be gracious to it. And don't just look at it as for what it views, like what you see, but what it does and what you can do.
I know that's a struggle for you, you know, with chronic back pain and all that you've been through. But now, you know, I appreciate those moments with you when you realize that you can do something that you couldn't do a year ago. Like, you know, recently we went snow tubing and you were going down mountains with your kids, and just to see you and hear you say like, I couldn't have done this last year, and to appreciate that your body can do that now is sweet. I know that, you know, you're not where you want to be still, but those moments are so
But it does. Sweet. It has changed my perspective of thinking so much about the visual, or like my legs are too skinny. Who cares about my legs if I can walk up a mountain?
Yeah.
Who cares? Who cares if I can go tubing? Who cares if I can hike?
Yeah.
Those things don't matter anymore about like, I don't care what they look like. I just want to be able to do the thing. And I think if we spend less time thinking about what things look like and doing the thing, what we can do. And it's just an encouragement to me, and I know it's just so freeing. It's so freeing to view it in a different perspective. And our bodies are amazing.
They really are.
Like when you truly think about it, men, women, like what we can do is freaking crazy.
Absolutely.
Like it. So love your body, and that is one way that you can exhibit self-love is to no longer be like, I'm so thankful for what you did today, that you kept me walking, that you kept me breathing, and all of the things. What's another area that you think we particularly have trouble sharing in our self-love?
So one that comes to mind, I don't quite know how to say it, but I think, maybe you can frame it in the way of like personality traits, like who we are, what we're good at, our kind of our strengths, right? I think about when you take like a personality assessment, and maybe in the back of your mind, you're trying to think like, I know I'm not great on this, but I want to put a higher score because I want to be that thing. We tend to want to be certain things that we're not, or we envy those traits in other people. Like, I want to be more caring like that person. I wish that I was, extroverted like that person. I think we do a lot of focusing on the things that we're not, and that can be hard.
Instead of the things that we are. I love personality tests because they tell you a lot about yourself, but it is so easy. It's been like, oh, I'm the dominant task-oriented person. Why can't I just relax and be able to chill
right.
and just like hang out in a room and just be totally about the people? And but we hear sometimes it's like, we have strength and we have weaknesses.
Yep.
And some people would say, work on your weakness. But I would frame it like maybe we should just be focusing more on our strengths and making those better because we've naturally been given those. And to know that like, I may be really, really, really good at this, so that I can do it easily and freely, and I can critique this, and it's going to be more easy for me to shine in this area than to work on the thing that I am terrible.
I think that's good, and I also think about it in the ways that in relationships, our strengths and weaknesses balance each other out. Like you're so good at like stating your opinion and making decisions and planning, and I'm terrible at that, and it drives me crazy. I'm like, I wish I was more decisive, or I wish I was more comfortable sharing my opinion, but thankfully it works out for us, right? Where I'm like, I don't know, I'm waffling, like, what do I want to do? And you're like, here, let's do this today. And you feel confident in that. And so, makes a good friendship because...
And isn't that beautiful though? Because that's what makes it. If we had two people trying to fight to do the same thing, or if we had one person that wasn't willing to accept that role, like if you weren't really good at that and you were like, I'm going to make myself better. I'm going to make some decisions around here. And you kept making decisions, but it just wasn't, you were being decisive all the time. Or if I'm like, I'm not going to make any decisions. I know I'm good at it, but I'm just going to, it would be terrible.
Right.
So I think this is just a shout out for our self-worth and our self-love is like, we have been given these strengths. We've been given this personality. We have been given these things that come natural to us. Embrace it, love them for what they are, and then look for people who compliment, the thing that we're not, like join them. I think that's what we're going to talk about this next week, even with a marriage can be sometimes is looking for the thing that we are absolutely not and making sure that other person compliments us. And
if we all have the same strengths, certainly nothing would work out.
Yeah, we would be in constant war. Be like tug of war all the time, which I do like a good game of tug of war. When's the last time you played tug of war?
I don't know.
Oh my goodness. I want to play tug of war. That was just a moment, but I need a really big mud pit, like, because I like to get muddy or I've always wanted to do it over the pool.
Ooh, yeah. Or like a Jello baby pool full of Jello or something.
That would be so awesome.
Messy and crazy and wild.
I want to play tug of war now. This is happening. Okay.
Maybe we at least wait until the weather's nicer. But.
Maybe a little bit. Just like a month or so. Yeah. It's worth it. It's worth it.
Yeah. What else? What else do you struggle with in terms of self-love?
I think personally for me, this is a big thing, and you know about it, Stacy, but just the idea of what I accomplished defining me. And I think a lot of women, and what I've heard from a lot of men, is it's hard to love ourselves because maybe we feel like we haven't accomplished what we should. It's all about, checking off this list, and am I this, am I that, have I done this, have I achieved that? And when I fail, because we all are going to fail at some time, like making like, I am not that cool or not that good, and that was terrible. And so those words.
Yeah, and I think when we're so kind of task-oriented or focused on our accomplishments, did I win the award? Did I finish the race? Did I, whatever it may be, right? That we just get so caught up on the failures, like the things that we didn't do, the regrets, and we look back and just think like, why couldn't I have been better at this? Why didn't I achieve this goal? Why, we just think about quitting and failure and let that define us. And that's just so dangerous.
It is, and I say this to myself a lot, and hopefully it's working. Hopefully it's triggering, and you can tell me at some point if it is. But I do, even with my kids and with myself, I've got to focus more about who I am, my kindness, my characteristics, my like how I exhibit love, and those things, my character and my integrity, rather than what I do. You know, like not listing myself by even I think I hear parents all the time, like identifying themselves with their kids' accomplishments, like, you know, that they are all star something or all, you know, whatever that thing is, that they go to this, that they're the best at this, you know, when, and that's good. And I want to celebrate our kids. I don't think anything's wrong. But when we find that there are some people, maybe me more than others, that just really struggle with that. So constantly like, but that's not what this is about. That's not what God came to do. That's not what our mission came to do, is just to be the best at something. It's to be kind, to have connection, to build community, to love. And if those things are a part of the way, they're fun. But they're not the big thing. And that's not what creates that eternal happiness and self-worth and love that we hope to have in our best life.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, when I start thinking about it, it's like we could spend all day, right, listing the things, the areas where we struggle. But as we start thinking about that, what do you think could be the root of the problem? Like, why is it that it's so hard to think about things that we love and so easy to focus on things we don't like or hate about ourselves or just the failure?
I think every person out there deals with this, and this is the key issue, is comparison. I mean, it's terrible. We've mentioned it on past episodes, and but, you know, when you really get to think about comparison, there are good things about, you know, looking at others' life and aspiring to be that or wanting to be that. They can push us to greatness. Even like last week, I was talking to a girl, and she was telling me about how she developed the love of music, and and she's amazing singer, amazing pianist, and all of these things. And I was like, how did you? And she was like, well, a funny story. I actually hated it for the first 2 years. And then it was someone that I saw that I was like, whoa, I want to be like them. Like, I want that for my life. And that's what inspired her to like put all the work in, to put all the effort to learn more. And she did have this natural gifting, and blah, she's being so successful today. And that's a good comparison, right? That's how it sparked good. But we have to be so careful, because if she spent her whole life like saying, well, am I better than her? And have I reached her goals? Have I done this? Then she would be in constant comparison and competition, and she can never be who she was meant to be.
Yeah. And I think that's important, right? Because social comparison is natural. We're always going to do it. There's probably not going to be a time when we don't look left and look right and see what other people are doing. But thinking about how we use that information, like if we use it to inspire, to motivate, right? And associate it with something positive, or allow it to show us what people are capable of, to imagine ourselves doing that. I think that's really important. But I think the problem comes when that social comparison leads to a lot of negative emotion, of guilt, of, you know, feeling bad, of self-deprecation, of, you know, that type of thing that we really need to avoid, and think not so much like it's not a competition, you know, with those people.
Yeah. I love what Adam Grant, he's our new favorite
author.
Post of the day, author, psychologist. And so he has this quote, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase it, but it says, striving to be the best is a mistake. And this is really hard for me to hear, folks, okay? So like, I'm learning through this, but striving to be best is a mistake. Striving to be better shifts the focus from victory to mastery, to compete with oneself, to raise the bar for the future. So many things to dissect in that. But I love it because, you know, honestly, like if we're just competing to beat you, your bar may be really low. Like, I don't know. In certain things, like your bar might be here. So if I just want to beat you, that's just a victory, you know? But when I'm trying to raise the bar within myself and to be better within myself, I just keep going higher and higher. We just keep going higher and higher. And there's no limit. And that is mastery. And like, what an amazing thing to be taught. It's like, no, I don't want to know more math than you. I want to know more math than me. Like, right now I want to keep going. I want to know more and more and more. I don't want to know more medicine than you. Yep. I want to know more medicine than me. Yeah. And that's are you not inspired?
Good. That's inspiring.
What? Yeah.
So it's not even about, right, we're still going to compare ourselves to other people, but I think that's a really important change in perspective is like, are you just doing better than your past self, right? And sometimes we're not, and we need a reality check. Like you said, if we always feel great about where we are, then we never get better. But look back and just see, where are you making progress, making steps in the right direction.
Yeah. And we talked about body a lot, but I see that, too, it's like I can't measure my success in my body of where you are. You're running a freaking half marathon this year,
Hopefully, yes.
You are. Yes, I'm going to make sure of it because that's your accountability partner right here because I know you can. But for me, just to be able to walk or halfway run a 5K, that's big for me.
Yeah.
And so, these are things, and we should just be here alone celebrating those successes with people instead of constantly comparing. But it is hard. It's hard.
Comparison is a trap and natural, but
you have to fight it. So, I think that's my one advice for comparison is you do have to fight the comparison trap of people's life. And we don't know everything about their life or who they are or how smart they are or how much work they put into it. Yep. But just be true to yourself. Love yourself and know. Yeah. Are you getting better every day, Stacy?
Trying. That's what we're doing this for, right?
Yeah.
Looking back.
I feel like I'm getting better every day. One step in front of the other. I'm better than I was last week.
Yep. So that's huge. I mean, I agree. I think that's kind of the main root of all of this is comparison. The other thing that I've been thinking a lot about, though, too, and this is something where I struggle, I have my whole life, is just with guilt. Guilt when I eat the wrong food, guilt when I miss a workout, guilt when I'm not a good friend, guilt when I mess up as a parent, guilt when I fail my spouse, right? And I just carry those things. I think about them forever. It's so hard for me to let go, and that's terrible. Terrible for my body, for my health. Yeah. But it's so hard. It is hard to let go of.
There was a funny study about guilt and that I loved. I was listening to a TED Talk by Jen Oliver, and it was a study that was done on two groups. So they were going to be given this piece of chocolate cake, and they preemptively they were like, "What are your feelings towards this piece of chocolate cake? Are you going to be like, oh my goodness, I can't do it. I feel so guilty. It looks so good, but it can't do it." And then there was this group that was like, a piece of chocolate cake? Yeah. Woohoo! Let's do it. Yeah. Let's jump right in. Let's go. So they divided them into two groups, let them eat their chocolate cake. And then they, I guess they did back research and they looked at the demographics of these two groups, and they found that the people that felt so guilty and just so like, I can't do this, that they had higher levels of cortisol and this hormone in our body that causes us to gain weight and causes us to be more stressed and irritated. And the group that had this celebration sense of this is a piece of chocolate cake and I'm going to eat it, they had better body weight, less cortisol, and they were overall healthier. And
so interesting.
I just wonder, this wasn't like a super legit study of 10,000 people, but it just makes you wonder, like, what is our guilt doing to us?
Absolutely.
Could we not just eat the piece of cake in a celebratory mode and say, I'm going to get through this, I'm going to get over this, and we be overall healthier than not? And maybe even some of those people, I wish they had said, did you finish your plate? What if some of them didn't even finish their darn chocolate cake? And they still weighed more. Because we have this mindset of guilt and regret, and we can't get over that hump.
I love that. Just kind of changing the mindset from guilt to celebration, and not feeling bad when we mess up, not necessarily celebrating for doing something especially really illegal. But, in those moments, those silly things that we feel, guilty about, eat the cake and feel good about it, celebrate and insert, XYZ for eat the cake, right? Miss the workout to be with your friends, celebrate that, right? And focus on the goodness that's coming from the thing you are doing.
And just know that we always have a reset the next day, the next. It doesn't give us this license to do whatever we want, because clearly if you eat the cake every day, and you can celebrate it all you want, but it's going to have the calories still attached to it. But it's to say tomorrow's a reset. I have the capacity to make those decisions. But sometimes it's just you do the thing. You don't make the best decision, but you still make a good decision.
Yeah, just do it and don't feel bad about it. Embrace it, right?
Especially when it's the chocolate cake. But although that's not a temptation for you.
No, I don't like chocolate cake.
I'm sitting here looking at you.
Let's talk about that, Harris Teeter vanilla cake with whipped frosting, and then
with no fork.
Yes,
with no fork.
With your hands.
With your hands.
In a swimming pool.
Oh, and some people, one of our friends hates the whipped icing, and it's so hard. It's like, oh, why would you want that hard stuff? I'm sorry, friend, that you're going to listen to this and be insulted. But
you can have chocolate cake and
we can all have our thing.
That's right. We can
without forks.
All have our thing
And enjoy it.
And I think we're talking about these things like they're, makes it sound so easy. Like, just stop comparing yourself to others and just think about if you're better and stop feeling guilty, celebrate. But, the truth is, of course, these things are impossibly hard. Hopefully not impossible, because we want to work at them, but they're tough. And so I think it just reminds me of the importance of having people in our lives who will help us on this journey and who speak the truths. Like, you saying, when it's so hard for me to think of something that I love, like, I'm so thankful to have you in my life and, my spouse and other friends and family members who say those positive things.
It's just a reminder that we need to say them. I think so often we hold those back and like, they don't need to hear that, or they're super confident and they don't need any more encouragement. But I think day to day, everybody needs some encouragement. So surround yourself with people who already do that. And then also be that person for these people in our lives, because we don't know what they're going through and what they need, or just and just like the obvious. Sometimes it's so hard, like at work or something, I'll see something and I want to compliment it, but I'm like, oh man, that'll like strike up a conversation and that'll put me behind.
Or that might be awkward.
But I'm getting so much better at like, man, you did really good at that. Thank you. And just to see their face light up, and we need to hear those words. We need to know.
Yeah, I saw, this has helped remind me, I saw a post a few weeks ago, and it was talking about how we need to say the things that we say at people's eulogies at their funerals to them while they're alive. Like, what's the point once they're dead, right? And it just keeps me, that sounded really dark, but the point of say the things while they're alive, while they're with you. Say the nice thing, because we don't do that nearly enough.
My husband, it reminds me of my husband just had his 40th birthday and we created a scrapbook for him, and that's kind of to what we've talked about, like why don't we do this more often for people? Because what a momentum to look at, like 40 things people have said about you now, instead of, okay, well, he's dead and he doesn't even know that those people thought those things about him. So it's good. So maybe we should start doing that more often with everybody. Honestly, I love those times where, you sit in a friend group and you all have to say like one nice thing or like one thing you see, and such a good time.
Oh, and it just makes you feel weird, but so good.
Yeah. I love it. And I think, something personally for me, when I'm struggling with comparison and I'm struggling with guilt, is viewing it from God's perspective of me. And I truly believe, I love Lauren Daigle's songs.
Yes, that just came to my mind too.
You say I'm strong when I'm weak. You say I belong when you don't feel like you belong. And it's like, we've got to say those things up to ourselves. We know that God feels that way about us. And so constantly it's like, I know that God feels this way about me. This is the truth. This is the truth about me. And we know even in God's word, it said we have to, in order to love our neighbor, we have to love ourselves. So like, that's the whole purpose of this episode is like, we truly, if we want to be love for everyone else, in our kids, in our friends, in the world, if we want to be the voice of change, then I think we have to figure out loving ourselves. Right?
Totally agree. And that's something I've seen or heard from clinical psychologists before, thinking about it as, is this the way you would talk to someone else? And so just showing self-compassion and self-love and grace, like, would you say that to a friend, right? Even when a friend messes up or does something wrong, like, would you talk to them the way that we talk to ourselves? And we wouldn't, so just, be kind to yourself.
That's very encouraging for me, because man, Stacy, if you heard the things I say about myself in my brain,
good.
I would never say those to you. I mean, and that's sad. That's sad that we do that. So here's the transparent transparency of this is we struggle with this too.
Absolutely.
And we're all in this together, and we're all working to love ourselves more, but we can help by our words and celebrating and picking out those friends that maybe struggle with guilt or seeing somebody in the act of comparison. I think we can see that like she is, they are, and be like, but you are. And so let's remind the people we love about who they are, remind what God says about them.
Yes. And be kind to yourself this week.
Yes.
And always.
Say good things.
Why, Jade?
Because we love you.